All right. Do you guys like the chapter? Hmm? You guys enjoy the chapter? Hmm? You guys like that chapter? That was the best chapter that we've had. And we've had a lot of really good chapters lately. That was like the best chapter that we've had. Dude, I can't even remember since when. Since when? When was the last time we had this chapter? This good. A chapter this good. Hmm? Yeah, I am early. When the chapter's this good, you gotta be on time. I'm kidding, that's not why I'm on time. I have to go to a thing after this, so I had to bump the stream a little bit earlier. Alright, guys, let's get the stream likes up to 100. Akash Band asking, why am I not late? Yeah. Banot says, why is his name Jew Peter? What are you cooking, Oda? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Some of those Celestial Dragon names are a fucking stretch. Like, I didn't even understand. Because I picked, okay, so you're reading them, and you're like, okay, some of these are obviously planets, right? But then, like, two of them are just really weird. I'm like, okay, so why are three of these guys planets, and then two of them are just this random bullshit? And then some people I saw on Twitter, people pointing out like, no, it's like Saint Topman Valkyrie. I think is supposed to be. Wait, this is Mars. This is Saturn. Oh yeah, Saint Topman Valkyrie is supposed to be Mercury, and then Venus Juro is supposed to be Venus. I'm like, all right, Oda, you. The chapter was really good, so we'll give you a pass for this weird ass Cordy stuff. Yeah, guys, like the stream. Let's get the stream likes to 100. All right, Bassam El Madawi, thanks for the 10. Theory time. Oh boy. All right, strap in. God Valley is where the 20 kings formed the world government. That's actually a really good theory. Emu is the former ruler of God Valley. Rocks was trying to learn about the Void Century when he attacked God Valley. Emu destroyed it after. That is actually low-key a really good theory. It's called God Valley, right? And we're like, why are there still even celestial dragons there? Why is it called God Valley? And it just makes sense that there was somewhere that the bad guys congregated before going to war with the ancient kingdom. It just makes sense. God Valley. They started there, then they moved to Mauritius. That's actually a really good theory. All right, Bassam El Madawi. Thank you for that theory. Great theory, honestly. Storm Fox, thanks for the 5. I think the mother flame that Vegapunk made was a fuel source and not the actual weapon. Vegapunk was talking about the ancient fuel source. Yeah, I mean, he's talking about we need a special sort of fuel source that that will fuel, everything in Perpetuum. The mother flame, I take it to be basically a makeshift fuel source that will work for now, or something like that. Andrew McCarthy, thanks for the 5. After 9 months of outlining my rewrite of Wano, I've finally started to write Act 1. It won't be perfect, but it def be better. Andrew McCarthy, that is a noble endeavor, a very noble endeavor, but I just don't know if there's any level of interest in a fanfiction version of Wano. I just don't know. Nicholas Sealstern, thanks for the 5. Vegapunk is something else to make a weapon equal or greater to an ancient weapon. What do you think Uranus will look like after seeing this? Okay, so I want to get the feedback from you guys, and maybe the Viz translation will help shed some light on this as well. How did we feel about the dialogue surrounding the ancient weapon here? Okay, because what we've got is, how do I say this? So, let me look at this again. So the ancient weapon dialogue around this chapter is basically that the revolutionaries are assuming that it must have been some sort of ancient weapon, right? The only one capable of creating something was Vegapunk. Yeah, okay. So the revolutionaries are assuming that Vegapunk wouldn't make a weapon, therefore it must be an ancient weapon. However, we're hearing from the Celestial Dragons that no, this is a weapon made by Vegapunk. So, either it's an ancient weapon that Vegapunk fixed, or the revolutionaries are just wrong in their assumption, and Vegapunk did, in fact, make a weapon capable of doing great damage, or Vegapunk made a weapon that didn't actually destroy anything, and it's a trick, much like I believed. We'll see. What is this? How do I say this? Ishmael Lamy. Thank you. The chapter is heavy on biblical references. Yep, confirming biblical references. Read Bible, John, chapter 16, please. I have to read it. I don't know. When have I ever read a Bible verse? Let me take a look at this. You remember they used to have Bible? Who remembers this? Who's this old? They used to have Bibles in hotels. Every hotel, like when I was a kid, any hotel that my family would go to, there'd just be a random Bible there. And sometimes if you had nothing to read, you know, you'd leaf through the Bible. It is not a fun read. It is they made that shit very, very dry. Very, very dry. No offense to, it's just dry. It just is. It's just a dry read. The stories are objectively interesting. The stories are interesting, but the language used is difficult for a child to follow. Can you believe that kids read the Bible in Sunday school at church? That's a hard read. Like, when I was in 4th, 5th grade, we were reading random stuff like Banicula and stuff like that. We weren't, like, the Bible is difficult to read. I used to read the Redwall series quite a bit. That was my go-to when I was a young kid. Alright, anyway, let's read this Bible verse. John chapter 16. John chapter 16, alright. John chapter 16. Is this like how long is this chapter? Oh my god, this chapter it's kind of long. This is too long. I'm not reading this. It's not that long, but it's long enough that I'm going to say no. Is there like a specific verse or something that I'm supposed to read? They're called verses, right? Alright, Jay, thanks for the 5. So is this sort of the top tier level character introduction that you mentioned was missing for the Gorosei? I'm happy with the Gorosei. I'm very excited for the Gorosei. They're literally called warrior gods. They're called warrior gods, so I mean, I'm tentatively ready to put them above admirals. They're called warrior gods. Like, that's a pretty crazy title to have. Guys, let's get the stream likes up to 200. Akash Panda, thanks for the 10. Emu saw an accurate vision of Lucia being destroyed weeks in the future despite never having used the Mother Flame before. Perhaps he had an extreme future sight like Madame Charlie, fit his god role. Yeah, I definitely think so, because if you compare to Enel, right? Enel's two powers were omnipotence and omniscience. Enel had broken observation haki for his time, broken observation haki. I think that would be really fitting for Im to have that as well. It also would make sense why Im is the one that chooses things to be erased from history, etc. He probably foresees various threats. Yeah, I like to think that that Im has some really, really great observation haki. Stormfox, thanks for the 2. Vegapunk made a fuel source for an ancient weapon. Okay, so you think that's what Vegapunk did, but I feel like they refer to it as Vegapunk's invention, right? Let me double check. In which case it would be the weapon itself, not a fuel source. Let's double check this. On top of that, it's kind of like, wasn't Vegapunk saying that he needed to discover a special fuel source, so he wouldn't necessarily have created it already? Let's see. To put Vegapunk's invention to the test, use the Mother Flame. So it says, to put his invention to the test, let's use this thing. So to me that indicates that the thing, the Mother Flame, would not be his invention. It's whatever invention he created is what's going to be put to the test. Keenan, thanks for the 5. What fruit do you think is Croc has since Vegapunk can't do Logias? Rust fruit might fit since Croc likes to dry things up and make them wither away. Crocodile's fruit. That is a good point. I didn't think about that this chapter. Also, does Crocodile look like a guy or a girl in this chapter? To me, it looks like a boy. It looks like a little boy, right? Therefore, Crocodile being a girl originally, that theory is dead? It's hard to tell. What do you guys think? Crocodile, boy or girl? Basim El Madawi, thanks for the 2. There is an evil Vegapunk, though. Why is there an evil Vegapunk? Oh, yeah, I forgot. There's York. I literally forgot. Dude, there's so much going on. There's so much going on at this point. I literally forgot about York and that stuff. I do like that we're learning more about the Celestial Dragons right now, even about their justice system. We're learning so much before we get back to Egghead that Egghead's going to be that much more interesting. Because now we kind of understand more so what it means. We're at least getting a better understanding of what it means to be a Celestial Dragon, the entire hierarchy within the Celestial Dragons. What type does York want to be? Like just a standard Celestial Dragon? What does York want to be? Because it sounds as though, the Figurelands, they sound like they are an exalted class of Celestial Dragons practically because they ruled God Valley. Keenan says, thanks for the 2. This chapter was so gas, bro. Too much to talk about. Actually, though, it sucks that this is the one time. This is the one time I actually. Whatever. I'll share it later. Doesn't matter. You guys will find out later. Ishmael Limmy, thank you. Cameron Bott, thanks for the 5. What if Lily had the Opie Opie fruit, which is how she spread the poneglyphs and was forced to use the eternal life power on Emu? Why she didn't return? So I buy into the theory that she had the pawpaw fruit. That if she had the Ope Ope fruit no mi, that would be really, really interesting. Because, she's forced to sacrifice. It fits. She's forced to sacrifice herself to give Emu eternal life. I would lean towards her not being the one to have done the surgery, because if she had that fruit, then wouldn't Im just have forced her to stay in the first place? Instead, it sounds as though it was of her own volition that she chose to rebel, turn around, go back or something like it sounds as though it sounds as though it was in response to her doing certain things that she was then punished, versus if she had the Ope Ope no mi, then she would have been, Im just wouldn't have let her go in the first place, right? Nick Jonko, thanks for the 10. Lots of biblical references lately. Fuck, do I have to read that Bible verse? Did you notice that the book Eva showed Sabo was almost Genesis, seeming was talking about the beginning of the world? No, I did not notice that. Oh my god. There's so much to pick apart from this chapter. I did not notice that. Where's this book? Oh, I see. It says Genesis. I'm so confused. So, in the original scanlation, this has to be something in Japanese, right? It has to be something in Japanese, I assume. So, are the English scanlators basically deciding, is TCB looking at this and deciding to translate it as Genesis? Because we can't even see the word properly. Umair Ula, thanks for the 2. Do you think Figureland, Garling scarred Whitebeard? So, my take is that, when Whitebeard said, okay, your face reminds me of that guy and the scar aches or whatever, right? I always just interpreted that to be Roger. Because, you're seeing a memory, you're seeing a familiar face from Roger's crew, right? How often does Whitebeard see somebody from Roger's crew? Pretty much never, so the sight of Shanks triggers his memories of his old duels back in the day with Roger. Therefore, I kind of assumed that was the case, right? Now, here's the thing, which is that the scars that Whitebeard actually has on his chest as an old man, they line up with the bandages that we see that Whitebeard has after his fight with Roger in chapter 1066. So I just always assumed that was the case, that Roger was the man that Whitebeard was talking about. I want to check one other thing real quick too, which is chapter 576, when we get that flashback of Roger talking to Whitebeard. Did he have the scars then? Guess we don't really get a clean look. Yeah, we don't really get a clean look. Yeah, so I guess it's basically hard to say. I think it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible that Figureland was, Figureland is Shanks' father, grandfather, whatever, was the one to scar Whitebeard. But at the moment, to me, it's kind of just like, well, it could also have just as easily been Roger and everything still fits, down to where we see the injuries post his fight with Roger. Deontay Black says, Morj the Professor, thanks. Chunky YT, thanks for the 10. I'm a man of formality, so I will greet you with your title. Alright, thank you. Hello, Mr. Morj. Hey, I love the chapter, but I need to know, did you think that curvy mustache Gorosei had a dogshit name too, or is it just me? Be real. I'm not gonna lie, I think a few of them had some weird names. Like, it's hard to it was a very badass introduction. Like, because we get St. J. Garcia Saturn, defense science warrior god, right? Saint Marcus Mars. I'm still rolling with it. Then we get down to Saint Topman Val. The fuck is this circus bullshit? I don't know what the fuck's going on there. But he's the Justice Warrior god. And then I think once we get to Saint Ethan, it kind of goes downhill if you read it from right to left, doesn't it? Because you start with the badass name that we already knew, which was Saint Garcia Saturn. Cool, top tier. We already loved that one. Oda dropped that on us individually just earlier in the Egghead Island arc, right? Great stuff. Then we drop a little further. We're like, Saint Marcus Mars. All right, a little redundant, but sure, alliteration, whatever, we'll take it. Then Saint Topman Valkyrie. The fuck? What? What are you talking about? Then we get to Saint Ethan Baron V. Noose Juru. So Oda picked basically 5 names and just shoved them all together and was just like, alright, this is it. And then we get to the dumbest of them all. I borderline can't say this one out loud because it is too stupid, but we all know which one it is. I think if I say it out loud, I might. I don't know if I'll be able to carry on stream. It is hard to say this one without laughing. It is, and he's the agriculture warrior god, which is even funnier because it's just like, I didn't know the Celestial Dragons cared about agriculture. Don't they just steal food and stuff from everybody else? But apparently they have an agriculture warrior god. I don't know why they need one. Everything else kind of makes sense. Defense science, of course they want that. Justice, yep, makes sense. I mean, kind of makes Figureland's role a little redundant, but you got a justice warrior god too. Finance, all right, got to keep track of the money. And then, yeah, give it to the guy with the glasses, keeps track of the money, makes sense. And then they got an agriculture warrior god and an environmental warrior god. I feel like they step on each other's toes a little bit. And the agriculture warrior god, it's just borderline one of the dumbest names in all of One Piece. Dumbest names in One Piece for a character that is not supposed to be a gag character, you know what I mean? Alright. But beyond that, the concept of all the warrior gods and them representing planets is really badass. Let's not get it twisted. It is really badass. Guys, let's get the stream likes to 200. Let's get the stream likes to 200. Caleb Brown, thanks for the 5. If Garling ruled God Valley, then was he just okay with Imu or whoever making it disappear, and did he willingly send Shanks away? He also probably fought Rocks. Okay, so I have a thought on Shanks being sent away that I'm not going to share here, but I think is pretty interesting. It's just not going to be shared here. It is being saved for a video that will come out during this 5-week break. Yeah, it is being saved for a video that is coming out during the 5-week break. All right. So now, beyond that, was he okay with Imu or whoever making God Valley disappear? Let me ask you this. Just put yourself in his shoes. All right. You're a king. You're a king of a land called God Valley. This entire island belongs to you, and it's an island for Celestial Dragons, so it's a pretty fucking nice island, isn't it? Alright, this entire island belongs to you. And then one day your boss says, hey, you're not going to be king of this place anymore. We're getting rid of your island. No one's ever going to talk about your island ever again. It's gone from history. It's gone forever. Your new job is to kill people that... is just to execute people that disobey me. And that's what you do from here on out. And he's like, well, do I still get, do people still refer to me as a king? It's like, well, they'll refer to you as former king, but you're not exactly a king anymore. You're more like, let's see. He basically got relegated to being, shit. I don't know if you guys remember. To this guy, right? That's basically his new job. So you ask me if you think Figureland is happy with his new role. I personally don't think so, but what do I know? Anyway. Okay, Keenan, thanks for the 5. Sad that the community won't refer to Gorosei as nicknames anymore. Jupiter will no longer... You made me say it. Jupiter will no longer be Sanji's dad, and Venus will no longer be Gandhi Gorosei. That's true. We're not going to remember them in that manner anymore. But I like it because for a long time, the Gorosei kind of just... I think, okay. The Gandhi one had a very distinct appearance. They all kind of have. I'm not gonna lie. For a while, like the Gorosei never really individually stood out to me too much. Some of them have distinct appearances. Obviously, the Gandhi one, the blonde one, the I think once you're getting down to the long mustache guy and stuff, it's kind of not too. It feels a little bit more generic. So I'm happy that we're getting the new names. Tanujin, but I get what you're saying, right? It's like closing a book on an era of the community. Tanujin Tarma, thanks for the 7. Dragon was in more disbelief of Vegapunk intentionally giving the government the Mother Flame than Sabo killing Cobra. Well, I mean, to be fair, okay, one, do we know that Vegapunk... I want to read the Viz translation. Is the interpretation that Vegapunk created the Mother Flame to fuel this invention? Or is it that Vegapunk made an invention and the Gorosei are using the Mother Flame to fuel it? You get what I'm saying? So 2 different things there. But on top of that, it's kind of like... the creating a nuke that the world government can use is a bigger deal ultimately than Sabo killing one guy, in my opinion. Musi Lin-esque, thanks for the 10. We have Kizaru who will likely awaken, vice admirals, tons of ships, seraphims that Saturn controls, and now we learn Saturn is most likely very top tier. Are the Strats in trouble after all? I fucking hope so. This arc is going to be so fucking... We get to... How exciting is it that we get to see one of the 5 warrior gods fight in the next, 10, 15 chapters, right? By the end of this year, we will have an idea of how strong the Gorosei are. That is crazy. Guys, let's get the stream likes to 300. That's the new goal. Sean Easton, what's up? Thanks for the 5. The Bible is Hebrew poetry. Oh, no, did I say something wrong? That's why it's not scientific and is wordy. Well, I know it's not scientific. I picked up on that. Ones in hotels are shit translations. Oh, well, sorry, that's my experience with them. I.e., no murder is no take innocent life. Isn't that... Okay, I kind of get what you're saying. All right. So, I'm just going to stay away from talking about the Bible because it is not my area of expertise. I know the good stories, like the Noah and the Ark, and, the apple. Titanium Dragon, thanks for the 5. I'm tired of seeing swordsmen. Dude, for the longest time it was you forget, but for a long time it was kind of like who is the what it felt like the One Piece world had a it was missing there was a dearth of swordsmen, I feel like, for a long time. Before it was kind of like, okay, we got Mihawk, we got Vista, and then Shanks, for the longest time, was like, are we counting him as a swordsman? What's even a swordsman, etc.? This was all like Marineford up to, I'd say, Whole Cake Island was when we started to pick up on the fact that, okay, there's more swordsmen out there. We got Smoothie. Big Mom uses a sword. And now it started to feel like, okay, using a sword is more and more common. We see Green Bull walking around with a sword. Fujitoro's got a sword, obviously. The Gorosei member is strong. He uses a sword. Figureland uses a sword. It was confirmed that Roger was a sword user, etc. But for a long time, it was kind of like Mihawk, Vista, maybe Shanks is in there, but that's pretty much it as far as it goes. But now, honestly, it feels like, every other Yonko commander uses a sword. Even Queen had a fucking sword. When did Queen use a sword? Queen only used a sword to break it against Sanji. That was the only time. Okay, your other comment is, Crocodile is seriously the son of Whitebeard. No, that scar on his face is where Whitebeard's mustache would be. What does that even mean? What? Jolly D. Joestar, thanks for the 2. John 3:16 or 16:16. Stop quoting Bible things to me. I don't want to... God damn it. Fine, I will look at something. John 3:16 or 16:16. What is this Dewey Decimal System shit? I don't even know how to search this properly. Are these all different versions of the Bible? Okay, John 3:16 is the 16th verse in the 3rd chapter of the Gospel of John. One of the 4 Gospels in the New Testament. That is so complicated, just reading that sentence. It is deemed one of the most popular verses from the Bible. Okay, it is the relationship between the Father and the Son of God. I will look into this later. Oh, Isis1155 just explained something to me. John 16:16. In a little while you won't see me anymore, but a little while after that you will see me again. Oh, I kind of get it. Okay, that makes sense. I think I get it. Is it basically like, once you die and go to heaven, you will see me again? I will say that the Bible has lots of... I've never heard of that quote before, but I do think that the Bible has lots of badass quotes. Mr. Shui, thanks for the 5. Figureland is also Shanks' name. Yeah, I knew about that. Confirmed in film Red. Yep, knew about that. Old man Figureland is Shanks' daddy. Or maybe grandfather? Tanujan Tarma, welcome to the Yonko. Thanks for joining. You now get access to the exclusive Mr. Morj podcast. It's called the Morjcast. It comes out every Friday. It has my unfiltered, extended thoughts on this and all other stuff that never makes it into normal videos, streams, etc., the like. It's a pretty good podcast, in my opinion. In my personal opinion. Opopa! Thank you. Uranus is the fuel source for Vegapunk's weapon. Oh, you think Uranus is the... You think Uranus is the weapon? Is the... You think Uranus is the fuel source itself? That doesn't feel very ancient weapon-y to me. I mean, it'd be an interesting idea. I feel like the Mother Flame... Okay, obviously we're going more so off of, Roman, but Roman and Greek, there's heavy crossover there, right? It's practically the same thing, right? Pluto, Hades, Neptune, Poseidon, Zeus, Jupiter, yada, yada, yada. So to me, something like Prometheus makes sense as some sort of a... Like, I'm just thinking Mother Flame, Prometheus, in Greek mythology, the huge deal was made out of basically... the gods had, I believe the idea was that the gods had this eternal flame or something, or gods had fire, and they were keeping it for themselves, and then Prometheus went up to heaven, took fire, brought it back down to man. Right now, Vegapunk's talking about some eternal flame. You guys get what I'm going with this? I wonder if this can make it in... You guys get where I'm going with this? It feels somewhat familiar. It fits, I think, a little bit with where we're going right now because there's a lot of Greek/Roman mythology being invoked here. Yeah, I think it's just an interesting idea. Mother Flame, that flame, if that's the eternal flame that Vegapunk wants, maybe that's something that could be brought back down to Earth towards the end. Fits the idea of dawn, etc. I don't know. I'll think on that. We're gonna keep going. Okay, Mark Hogan says, at Mr. Morj, how do you feel about important lore being revealed in movies? Film Red. I didn't watch it, so I don't know about the Shanks/Figureland stuff until now, but I wish it was in the manga first. I think, to me, the one that it hits hardest with is definitely the Laugh Tale one. Because I think that that entire scene of Roger laughed, right? That is already one of the most iconic moments in One Piece, period, right? That's already one of the most iconic moments. And it's just a very memorable scene on its own. And we remember it for the expression and, the Roger laughed line, right? Imagine if we also, in that same scene, had it dropped on us that the real name was not Raftail, but Laughtail. It would have just made the whole thing, just that much more... We're never going to get to feel or experience what that moment would have felt like, Instead, we got a really cool moment still out of it, like an iconic moment still out of it. But imagine how crazy that whole thing... Imagine how surreal that whole thing would have felt if, on top of Roger's reaction, Roger laughed, the celebration and stuff, the final line of that chapter was, we'll call it Laughtail. There's a certain power to that we just will never ever get to experience because we didn't get to find out about it organically like that. And I would argue that I don't think that Stampede gained that much from just having that Easter egg thrown in. I think Stampede's quality stays about the same. And I like Stampede, by the way. I think it's a really fun movie, actually. I did get around to watching all of it. I think Stampede remains a really fun movie. I imagine Film Red remains a really fun... I just don't think it adds that much to these movies at all. Whereas we know the week-to-week experience of reading One Piece, it thrives on just small like sudden, like it just thrives on reveals like that being dropped as cliffhangers, as page turners, shocking page turns, etc. Not that we're physically returning pages, but you get what I mean. Like that alone, Shanks having a text box that says full name Shanks Figureland or something like that. That alone, as the final panel for a manga chapter, would fuel excitement among the fandom for a full week. When you just throw it in as a tidbit in Film Red or something, it's really not. It doesn't stand out as much, or it's not it's overshadowed by so many other things happening in Film Red. Blackleg, thanks for being a member for 8 months. Just saw the new Transformers. Not gonna lie, it's kind of hype. I thought that I'd have more people talking about the new Spider-Man. Thanks for being a member for so long. But you're surprised. I did not think that somebody would be popping in to talk about the new Transformers. I have not seen a Transformers movie since the Shia LaBeouf trilogy ended. I'm not gonna lie. I was a big fan of the Shia LaBeouf trilogy. I thought that shit was great. Not great in terms of actually really good, but to me those were okay, you guys don't remember this, but the 2000s, before Marvel and superhero movies kind of took over everything, the 2000s were a healthy mix of various blockbuster franchises, and Transformers was one of them. It was you got Pirates of the Caribbean, you got the Harry Potter movies, you got Transformers, you can throw in the Hunger Games and stuff like that. I guess that was 2010s a little bit, but before Marvel really took over the game, it was stuff like, I was more hyped for stuff like Transformers. Now I just have less interest in blockbusters in general, I think. Maybe my age or something like that. I just have less interest in blockbusters. But, when I was a kid, those were some of the standout, middle school to high school age. Those were some of the really fun movies to go watch in theaters. William Marshall, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 5 months. What's the best scene of Luffy crying? I'm going to go with after he beats Usopp or the I Still Have My Friends panel. Best scene of Luffy crying? That's an interesting question. I think after his fight with Usopp, because to me that's the most that feels the most, it just feels so weirdly personal. I Still Have My Friends is a very happy moment. Him losing Ace, and obviously that was really sad, but it was very, very, how do I say, him losing Ace, both at Marineford and his post Marineford reactions, those were very dramatic, very, very theatrical. It was very theatrical crying, right? Not to say it in a bad way or anything like that, but it's just with Luffy and Usopp, it was it felt more raw and real and kind of relatable as, just as, because it's a friendship that we have become very, very invested in, that we're seeing basically fall apart in front of our eyes. And we know that Luffy is, I think it's because it's such a more gray and mixed concoction of feelings, right? Whereas with Ace, he's just purely sad, purely devastated. With Usopp, it's kind of he's doing what he knows he has to do and what the right thing is to do, but he's why am I finding it so difficult? Why is it so hard? He's talking about how heavy the captain's burden is. Or Zoro's telling him he's saying this is so heavy. Zoro's telling him that's what the captain's burden is. That's what I think makes that scene so particularly, I'd say it's a particularly nuanced scene as far as Luffy's emotions go. Probably the most nuanced you get out of Luffy throughout the story, in my opinion. Pony Up, thanks for the 2. Venus, yep. Ismail Lamy, thank you. They should eat cake is what Queen of France. Yeah. It was Marie Antoinette, right? Wife of Louis XVI, said before being decapitated, in a way that invokes her not understanding the struggle of the population not finding bread. Yeah, I think it's a fairly popular joke that you see thrown around in pop culture. The number 16 again. The number 16 again, exclamations. I guess I really got to read that Bible stuff. Okay, I'll look at it at some point. I'll just make a note. Bible, 3:16, 16. We'll just have that up on the side. There was whatever. It was Marie Antoinette, right, wasn't it? Unless I'm totally wrong. Yeah. It was this is what I've heard. It was attributed to her, but it was like, supposedly was just something that people made up about her. Because, the commoners are angry, so... The commoners, us, the people, are angry, so obviously they're gonna say, like... They're gonna run some smear campaigns against the unjust government, right? Mark Zeknown, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 8 months. What do you think about the possibility of Kuma's flashback being tied to God Valley? Natural way to introduce it, and the timeline adds up with the age. Does the timeline add up with the age? How old is Kuma? That would be awesome if Kuma is one of the ones freed during God Valley. If he's one of the... Holy shit, if Kuma's one of the slaves freed during God Valley, how amazing would that be? Bartholomew Kuma, age. No, it doesn't line up. He's 35. Wait, no, it says he's 45? Oh, he's 47. It does line up. It does line up. That is really interesting. I love that. I think that'd be amazing. The Nerd Story, thanks for the 5. Someone saw this somewhere else. Garland, Dorothy's actress, Wizard of Oz, and God's Valley, Emerald City. Could God's Valley be the Emerald City? I'm gonna be I hope God Valley is the Emerald City, but I'm gonna be really mad if you're right on this, because to me this is just one of those things where, like, it feels like such a stretch just reading it. Garland, Dorothy's actress, Wizard of Oz, and God's Valley, Emerald City. Could God's Valley be the Emerald? Like, to me that feels like such a stretch. But you know what? If anywhere's the Emerald City, I think it'd be cool if that's the Emerald City. The guy actually... Hold on. Garland actually looks like... Okay. Wizard of Oz. What's the name of the... I think it's the Gatekeeper or something? No, he doesn't look like that. I swear there's a Wizard of Oz character that kind of looks like... Maybe it's from one of the sequels. You guys don't know this, but I was actually... the Wizard of Oz books, there's a whole long-ass series. It's a long series of books. It even gets continued past L. Frank Baum, the primary, like the original author, and I think his kids carried on and stuff. I didn't read those, but I read all of the Wizard of Oz books when I was young. Like all of the ones that were written by the original author, L. Frank Baum. And there's all sorts of interesting characters, character designs. It's a very zany world. They're a fun read when you're a kid. I was always surprised when I found out they're not that popular. As, like, obviously the original book, The Wizard of Oz, is very popular, but even just the sequel, which I think is like The Marvelous Land of Oz, they're always something of Oz. I forget the exact order, but even that one, which I think is a phenomenal kids fantasy book, even that one's not that popular. So I guess just everything fell off after the first one, where people kind of got the novelty of, traveling to a different land, etc. But I would definitely recommend those to read to your kids or something. I don't know if it holds up for adults, but I think they were definitely some of the most, I guess, formative books of my childhood. Keo Beats, thanks for the 5. Patricio Zambrano, thanks for the 5. So disappointed my idol is a rat. Do you really think Shanks has bad intentions? No, Shanks isn't... Look, I'm pretty sure that Shanks was found as a baby. He's not a rat. And what do you have planned for content during the break? I am excited for the break. The tricky thing about the break is figuring out what the highest priority stuff is, because I have a bunch of stuff that I've been wanting to get out that I just haven't been able to find the right time to, because we've had so many things come up recently, right? And usually, I guess, like, as a content creator, you want to talk about things that are topical first and foremost, and then get to the stuff that's maybe a little less topical. So there have been times that feel like I've had to shaft a video, or like kick a video idea down to a little bit later to talk about something that just happened from the most recent chapter, even though there's stuff that's happening in general current events wise that I want to talk about. So I've got a lot of things I want to talk about over the course of the break. I'm honestly kind of happy that we get just a break in terms of everything that's going on, so that I can just get out, like I can just actually pace out some videos that I want to do, if that makes sense. So you're gonna see some interesting theories, some analysis videos and stuff like that, like shorter form analysis videos. Just June, I don't know how to say this, JU5T J4NE, I'm gonna say just June, welcome to the Pirate King tier. Thank you for joining. You get access to, obviously, the Morjcast that comes out every week with my extended, unfiltered, controversial thoughts, let's just say. Comes out every Friday, so look out for that this Friday. And right now, for Pirate King tier, the thing that I'm considering is basically, and I still have to pitch it to everyone in Pirate King tier to make sure they're cool with it, a once-a-month podcast that comes out with a topic that they specifically choose that I have to talk on. Yeah, let's see. Repe16, thanks for the 5. Punk working on Mother Flame parallels Einstein working on the atomic bombs. Einstein, don't we want to say Oppenheimer at this point? Hasn't there been that tells me there hasn't been enough advertisement for this upcoming film, right? You guys know that, like, Oppenheimer is considered the father of the atomic bomb, although Einstein was obviously involved. But I mean, Einstein was the one that Vegapunk is based off of, so I guess that fits a little bit better in this context. But you're right, this whole thing does fit very well with the parallel of, you know, the creation of nuclear bombs and all that. Oh, let's get the stream likes up to 400. Squeezlebub, thanks for the 10. Lily is Zunesha. Yeah, I've heard this one before, but let's see if you've got some more evidence for it. Zunesha was a comrade, Joyboy, who was punished to wander the sea after committing a crime. Makes sense. Lily was a D who betrayed Emu by releasing poneglyphs, and she never made it home. Yeah, I mean, I agree. This is the stuff that people have spoken about this before. I'm on board with Lily being Zunesha. If we go all the way back, there was a stream, I think 3-4 weeks ago. I'm going to say 3-4 weeks ago. That was us trying to guess Emu's true identity. And in this stream, somebody threw out, like, Lily being Zunesha. And at first I was like, oh, that's a joke. And then I thought about it a little bit. And then I was like, wait, I got to put this down because it's an interesting idea. So, I don't know. Lily being Zunesha, I think, is... I'm on board with it, personally. I've been on board with it for a minute. Oh, shit. Ooh's back with some alien news. Alright, let's see what he got. Thanks for the 5. Use break to make a video on alien manipulation of humanity. I don't know about... I think there's better things I could do with this break. Isaac St. Charlos, thank you. Mr. Morj, I've spent my weekly school money on this. Okay. So please do the waifu tier list. Needed during break, and you owe us this. And who's your top 3 OP villain? That's a very demanding super chat. But you have spent your entire weekly school money. You spent your entire week of school. What does that even mean? Do you eat no lunch for the rest of this week? What does that mean? You guys remember school lunches? I don't know how many of you are still in high school, but here's the thing. Like, school lunches always look... My mom would always pack me my lunch. I don't know, I had a caring mother or whatever, right? But she would always pack me my lunch. And, like, it was, like, whole wheat bread and stuff like that. Nowadays, I eat whole wheat bread just because I want to, because I'm, like, you're a healthy adult. You just feel like doing it, right? But when I was a kid, I fucking hated whole wheat bread. So she'd pack, like, whole wheat bread and, like, an apple that I would always throw away. I know, very wasteful, but I just didn't like fruits and stuff. She'd just pack my lunch and stuff like that. No snacks, no sugar food, nothing. And so I would look at the kids that had their cafeteria food with such fucking jealousy. It was just like, they were like kings in my eyes. I was like, this is fucked up. They get to eat like cafeteria fries were so good. They're really good if you're eating something really healthy that you don't like, then everything else just becomes disproportionately way more delicious looking. You know what I mean? So like in my eyes, like the fries were like handcrafted by God. They had tacos, they had burgers and stuff like that. You could pick to have you could pick to get pizza if you wanted. It was just so much good stuff in my mind. And I was just like, oh my God, their parents must love them so much to let them eat this garbage every day while my mom makes me this. I don't know, man. I feel like my life would be really different if I got to eat that cafeteria food. Good life, thanks for the 5. Luffy never kills the villain, so he punches Im through the red line into the new ocean, pinned to the bottom, constantly drowning but unable to die. I'm definitely on board with that. I think that fits perfectly. I've said for a long time that the final battle of One Piece makes sense with Luffy using his fists, punching the villain through the red line. Im being that guy makes the most, fits perfectly for this because Im just being stuck at the bottom of the ocean. It fits the idea that, one, it's very similar to Doflamingo's defeat, right? So sending them from heaven to earth, that's literally what that chapter is called. And with Im, it's basically like he's the devil, right? Pretending like it's God, but he's really the devil. So you punch him down to the bottom of the earth or whatever, and that's where he stays for eternity. It's a cool idea. Strad Shako, thanks for the 2. Oda 100% took inspiration from Austin 3:16. I'm gonna fucking flip. How many? I'm not reading all of the. Some are by John, some's by Austin, some's by Patrick. Like, how many do I have to? Like, what is all this? Why can't it all just be condensed into one singular? Why can't you guys just have one? Right? Just have one thing. Just have one book. Chunk YT, thanks for the 10. Hello, Mr. Morj. Egghead is the NBA Finals. Oh, God. People are going to get really mad at me in a second. But, look, Chunk YT started this. I'm responding to his comment. All right? Let's keep that in mind. Also, let's get the stream likes to 400. Jimmy Butler is Luffy. What? Bam is Zoro. What? That is insulting to Zoro. Jamal Murray is Kizaru. That's funny. And Joker is Saturn. Egghead's conclusion will align with the results of the finals. But I think the Strats are going to win. But I think the Heat are going to lose. I just don't believe you. I kind of get what you're saying, though. It's weirdly right. If you follow the NBA at all, it is actually a weirdly kind of good comparison. Hold on. Oh my god, I'm scrolling past some things that I see of people explaining to me how the Bible works. Alright, we'll get to those in a second. Looks like I gotta open up the Supers tab real quick. I do think that the influence of the Bible in One Piece is real. I mean, Kuma literally... Oh, god damn it. Kuma literally walks around with it. And we've just been talking about God Valley and all of that stuff, and how Kuma's, maybe his origins are from God Valley. I'm going to have to read the whole Bible, aren't I? I mean, again, I know the stories are good. The stories, the truths, however you view it or whatever, but I know the Bible is a good read. It's just, don't really feel like reading a full book right now. Yeah, at this moment in time. Okay. No, we covered this. No, we didn't. Sean Monahan, thanks for the 5. The rawest Bible verse ever is, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." It sounds like an anime line. Yeah, it does. No, the Bible has some really raw lines, for sure. Will of Davy, thanks for the 10. I believe Saint Garling is the reason that Garp has disdain for Shanks, and Rocks was morally gray or even correct, and why he doesn't hold Dragon's beliefs against him. Yes, I believe Dragon is a Xebec. So you think that Luffy's a Xebec? We're getting into... I think with just this introduction of the Figarland line, and the fact that we're about to get more details on... The introduction of the Figarland line, and the Rocks aspects, right? So everything going on with God Valley has added a whole bunch of extra layers to how much we're going to explore lore-wise for the end of the story. Because it means that Shanks is now more... Shanks has always been important, but now it feels like learning about his character and his past is also important too, which I didn't think was necessarily the case earlier. I thought we might get like a little bit of insight into why he's doing what he's doing, maybe a montage flashback or something, but now it feels like there's pieces at play that could, like you're saying, it could connect to Dragon's motivations. Kuma's history is obviously, I'm buying that it's God Valley related as well. I think that there's a lot that could be really important from here. Caleb Brown, thanks for the 2. Dragon's a fraud. Robin had to tell him about the ancient weapons. No, I think that I saw some people saying that, and I'm always on board to call Dragon a fraud, but I personally feel like that I think that Dragon knew about the ancient weapons, but it says that Robin told us that the ancient weapons do in fact exist, right? So it's just confirmation that they exist. Dragon didn't know that, he didn't have the confirmation that they existed before, which I think is fine. It's kind of like people didn't know the One Piece existed for sure until Whitebeard basically confirmed it, right? These things are supposed to be somewhat vague, somewhat mysterious. There's evidence of their being, of these things being in the world, but it's no confirmation, I suppose, right? Because, Dragon can't read I think it's easy to forget because at this point it feels like everyone knows a little bit of ancient history. But the point for a long time in the story was that really only Robin knows about the ancient history. Nowadays, because, Kaido knows some stuff, we're learning a lot because there's characters that were associated with Rocks who learned the true history, or Roger who learned the true history, but someone like Dragon, it would make sense that he wouldn't know that much about the true history, because how would he have learned it, Nick Chonko, thanks for the 5. Emu of House Nerona, reference to Nero. That's that Roman emperor, right? Or homonym, homophone, I don't know the difference, to the Nur-Ona yokai. I literally don't know what the Nur-Ona yokai is. So let's roll with Nero. YouTube won't let me say Ona with an O. Okay. Let's roll with Nero. Maybe it's a reference to Nero. Maybe. But at the same time, it's kind of like... okay, let me think. So the story of Nero, that's the one where Rome burns, right? We got a lot of fire, dawn imagery and stuff, right? So let's see. Nero story. Am I crazy? Yeah. He fiddled with actually had to in film one of my film classes I watched, like there's a film of Rome, like of Nero and Rome burning and everything. It was actually a pretty cool scene. This is wild. He died at age 30. Committed suicide, but I feel like people just died so young back in the day, you know what I mean? Like, I'm 27. Imagine being... trying to imagine, like, oh man, like, I go down as a famous emperor in history with a short-ass lifespan of only 30 years. I only lived 3 more years, but I'm remembered throughout history as this guy. It's kind of crazy. Anyway. Okay, Sean Easton coming in with 10. Thank you, man. But more importantly, coming in with the explanation that I will trust him to give. He says, "Ait." So, everyone listen up, all right? For those of you who don't know the Bible too well, you uncultured viewers, let's all learn a little bit from Sean Easton. He says, the Old Testament is chronological. Cool, I expected it to be chronological. New is 4 accounts. All right, so we're talking about a different testament here. So the New Testament is 4 accounts from apostles on Jesus, plus their works, plus revelation. I've heard about revelations, all right? But a big part is that truth can be reached in natural world too, not just the Bible. All right? I think I learned... Okay, it makes sense to me. Old Testament is the scary one. I remember that people talk about Old Testament God being the really... he's kind of harsh, right? New Testament, 4 different accounts. Okay, Jesus, their works, plus revelations. Okay, it makes sense. All of these words are familiar to me. Big part is that truth can be reached in natural world too, not just Bible. Okay, but they're different branches of Christianity too, right? So, aren't there some that don't believe that the truth can be found in the natural world or whatever, and that you can only go by the Bible? I'm just saying what I've heard. Might be wrong on that. H-Man, thanks for the 5. Saint, Ethan, Baron, V, Nus, Joro. We gotta pick which name are we picking for this guy? Because we're not spelling it out every time, right? Which one are we calling? Nus Joro? I'm rolling with Nus Joro. It's top 1. Wielder of Supreme Grade Blade Shodai Kitetsu. Will of V. Didn't know that one's a thing. Big money mindset. You ain't ready for him. Alright, I'm on board. I will say, he's the one that to me looked like, out of the Gorosei that were transforming into their Zoan forms, right? He's the one that looked to me like the one with the clouds around him, because it looked skinny, kind of like his build. So it looked to me like he's the one with the clouds around him, which in turn would mean that he's the awakened Zoan among the 5 of them. Crow Stray God, thanks for the 20. Who are 2 completely unrelated characters you would love to see interact? I love that. That's a great question. I'd be really interested to see the dialogues between Akainu and Blackbeard. Their ideologies oppose each other more than Luffy opposes either. I agree. Akainu and Blackbeard, the dichotomy and contrast between them was played up towards the ending chapters of Marineford. And it's funny, like, in the post-Marineford arc, you had Blackbeard cornering Bonnie, and he just missed an encounter with Akainu, who showed up. So Blackbeard ran off just as Akainu rolled up. So Oda kind of avoided those 2 actually talking to each other. But they are definitely supposed to represent, at least in Marineford, the worst of pirates and the worst of Marines. So 2 sides of the coin, whatever. I would love to see So that's an interesting answer, but for me, I want something a bit more random. I want to, I want to see like, I would love to see Dragon talk to anyone important. So let's say I would like to see Dragon and maybe because Dragon's so interesting because he's just separate from the world of pirates. You know, like all of these guys, Shanks, Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom, Mihawk, they all exist in the same sphere in terms of what they occupy in the world, right? Blackbeard, etc., right? So when they're talking to each other as pirates. Dragon is this extremely, extremely important figure in the world that is just separate from all these other events, right? The Marineford War, whatever's happening, like the Wano conflict, the conflict among the Yonko, the reshufflings of the worlds of pirates, the hunt for One Piece. He's just outside of all of that, right? Everything that's happened in the Great Age of Pirates, nothing to do with Dragon, really. Everything that happened, you know, even when Dragon was young, and it was like Roger and Whitebeard's era, unrelated. He's off doing his own thing, right? To me, like, that's so wildly interesting because, you know, the Marines and pirates, they go at each other, but what is Dragon, like, how would Dragon speak to Whitebeard? Obviously, Whitebeard's dead now, but how would Dragon and, like, Kaido's interaction have gone, right? Kaido doesn't put Dragon in his top 5, but that's probably because Kaido's never met Dragon, right? Dragon and Shanks, Dragon and anybody. Dragon has talked to nobody in the story of importance besides his own subordinates, right? Ivankov, Sabo, etc. He's talked to his own subordinates, and we saw him talk to Vegapunk once, right? But it just feels so separate. It feels like they're practically two different universes. So I kind of want to see Dragon talk to some people that are important and really get a sense of like how do other important characters view Dragon and address Dragon, and how does Dragon talk to them? Ismail Lamy, thank you very much. God Valley was called an incident. Lucia was called an incident. Egghead is also called an incident. Egghead is about to get nuked in 5 weeks. When are you giving your new global theory with recent developments? My new global theory with recent developments? What does that mean? Global theory. What does a global theory mean? Like an all-encompassing end of One Piece sort of a theory? My view of how One Piece ends hasn't really changed for the longest time. I put it out a while back, the end of One Piece, right? I subscribe to the destruction of the Red Line theory. I've always subscribed to that ever since I heard it. And I think the more and more that we've learned about the story, the more it feels like that fits to me. Egghead getting nuked in 5 weeks, I could definitely see it. I can't imagine Egghead still being around because it wouldn't need to be around, right? Vegapunk, as long as he's around, right? I mean, you need Punk Records in theory, but you guys know how I feel about what's going to happen with Punk Records. So, yeah, Egghead itself I don't think needs to be around. Awakened Garo, thanks for the 2. Thanks for the amazing content, makes work easy. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Grizzly Adams, thank you for the 5. Oda is getting his eyes fixed. Oh yeah, we were discussing that last stream. So it's not just planning related, it is a medical thing, but it sounds like it's LASIK, right? As far as I understand, it's LASIK. So it's not a medical thing in terms of like Tagashi, where he's getting to the point where physically he can't, because of back pains, whatever, he can't work anymore. It's something that is a fixable sort of problem, right? My eyes are getting worse. Let me get them back up to speed so that I can keep writing One Piece. I think that is perfectly fine. He gets a 5-week vacation too. That's great. Right before drawing what will likely be one of the most bombastic action sequences in the series. Yeah. All good stuff. All great stuff. Ponty, thank you very much. Been watching your videos for years. Felt like giving something back. That is very sweet. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Greetings from Germany. Greetings from America. Is the world government plainly evil, or will we get an understandable reason for their actions? I feel like the Celestial Dragons, as we were made to... I feel like we're getting... Oda's trying to get it deeper and deeper to a core root source of evil. Because Oda's not the type to just say that, okay, everybody is blanket now a bad guy. Like, the Marines that participate in the Marineford War, they're not bad guys, right? Some of them are really bad, but a lot of them aren't. They're just doing their job, right? When you get down to even the Wano bad guys, right? Most of the Beast Pirates, I forget exactly what the deal was, but they were made to surrender, give up, right? And I don't know how much they're being punished for what they did necessarily. It really comes down to the core forces of evil that Oda tries to paint as like the true bad guys. Because how many times do we see former enemies, former villains, etc., turning out to be allies or something like that later, right? So with the world government, I think initially was like, okay, world government is the big evil that rules the world. Then, a while later, we get a statement from Koala that, look, the Revolutionary Army's goal is not to get rid of the world government. It's fine that we have a government. That makes sense. We're trying to get rid of the Celestial Dragons that are at the heart of the world government. So it's like, okay, makes sense. Celestial Dragons, they are fairly unforgivable. Let's take out those guys, right? But now we're getting to a point where it's like, okay, even the Celestial Dragons, they are as terrible people as they are, right? They are literally raised in a bubble where they are enabled to do all of these, enabled and encouraged to do all of these terrible things, and think of themselves as basically pure perfect beings, and think of, you know, everyone else that they interact with as basically less than human, or, you know, well below their status, not worthy of rights or empathy or anything like that. Like things for them to abuse, etc., right? But as we can see, if you take a celestial dragon like Mjosgård out of his bubble and force him to experience certain things, then even the celestial dragons can change, right? So as terrible as they are, I think the messaging around Mjosgård is important because it shows the idea, like, he starts off as a standard celestial dragon when we first see him. I think the idea is that basically just because they are all this way doesn't mean that it's a genetic thing necessarily, right? They're not just inherently evil. You can take those guys, you can take them out of their bubble, and they can be made to change their ways, right? They just have to learn. Some of them are evil. I think we get that dichotomy between Doflamingo and Corazon, two brothers, both celestial dragons, both sharing the same blood, but with the right circumstances, right influences, etc., and probably to some degree their own natural predilections. You've got Corazon, who turns out to be a very good person, Doflamingo, who is celestial dragon to his core at the end of the day. But the point is that I think that, you know, first we say, okay, world government is a very mixed bag made up of a lot of different nations. We don't want to just get rid of the world government. It on its own is not evil. It's fine to have a world government. Okay, celestial dragons, they're clearly bad, right? Not necessarily. Even they are just extremely severely misguided and raised to be evil, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, you know, they all have to be torn down, etc. That has to happen, but they're not necessarily, like, villains to their core. Who is truly responsible for everything that's happening in the world and has been happening for the last 800 years? Okay, now we're getting down to the really narrow meat and potatoes of who it is. It is Imu, it is the Gorosei, and I suppose it is some celestial dragons in power like the Figarlands, right, who seem to be very well aware of what they're doing. They're not stupid like the other celestial dragons who go about living their day. They have a very set mentality and ideology that paints them out as evil, right? So I think that Oda's just carving tighter and tighter and tighter to get to a true core root of all evil with his final set of villains. And once they're axed, then we probably get something like celestial dragons being forced to pay penance or repentance in some way or whatever, but not necessarily, but like ultimately probably not all just being like killed or executed or thrown in Impo down. World government reform from the top down, then the Marines get reformed, etc. Sword takes over. That's how I think the direction of the story kind of goes. Alex Blanchi, welcome to the Yonko. Let me give you the usual spiel. You now get access to the Morjcast, the extended thoughts podcast that comes out every Friday with my unfiltered extended thoughts on basically everything that's going on in the story, recent videos, my process of video creation, etc., etc. So thank you very much for your support. Thank you for joining. Peter Falk, thanks for the 5. I wonder if the machinery recovered that Vegapunk mentions in 1066 led to the creation of the Mother Flame. Might even be his version of Uranus. Let me check 1066. I don't recall off the top of my head. Machinery recovered in 1066. There's so many fucking details, man. So many details. In the meantime, I'm looking at this. Nelio9 says Morj, theory god of raid fail. Noor Gangi, thanks for the 220. There could be... ah, shit, I was worried about Noor. There could be no excuse during this 4-week break now. Hey, you don't know. I'll come up with something. Sean Easton, thanks for the 10. People will give you shit takes on reading the Bible. You want to not waste your time? Bible in a Year podcast. In a year? It's well paced? It takes a year. What are you talking about? I dropped it after 6 episodes, but I'm gonna get back into it. You didn't recommend this well at all. You you said, okay, you want to not waste your time. Bible in a Year podcast. So you're asking me to waste a year of my time. You say it's well paced, although it takes a year. And then you say that you dropped it after 6 episodes, but you're gonna get back into it. Stellar recommendation, Sean. Thank you very much. All right, back to stream, you say. Kid Smitty94, thanks for the 5. Considering the Ancient Kingdom was apparently highly advanced, do you think Emu could be a robot or cyborg and the immortality surgery is a red herring? Go watch the Hidden Islands. Not right now. Nobody go right now. Actually, I'm not even going to recommend this video right now. Otherwise, you guys will go watch it. You short attention span motherfuckers. Alright, but Hidden Island talked about this manga that may have been some degree of inspiration for some stuff related to One Piece, which is called The Music of Mary. And in that manga, the bad guy, or not the bad guy, the ruling force, Mary, if I'm remembering this correctly, is like an automaton or something like that. What did he find here? Where does he say he found some parts? I'm looking at 1066. I'm looking. The thing is that the Mother Flame, like, this all happened, like, yesterday. But, the attack on the Lucia Kingdom happened earlier, so I don't think that the timeline lines up, you know? Whatever was needed to use the weapon, they already had it by the time that Im made the call. Noah Phillips, thanks for the 5. Opinion on Tipped Off and Zion drama. I'm really not heavily invested in Melee anymore. I hope the scene continues to do well. I know that there was a bit of a scare with Twitch threatening to pull ads and things like that. I'm not even, like... With Melee, I think that things need to kind of heat up. Like, there just needs to be something... There needs to be more... I don't know how to explain it, but it just feels like there's a degree of apathy from players like Mango and Hungrybox, who are like the old gods that are still sticking around. And then out of the new guys like Zane, Jmook, Cody. Zane, Jmook, Cody, and Amsa, I think those are the biggest up and coming. Like even Leffen, I think there's some apathy because he's like, well, I'm also a Guilty Gear player and etc. Right? Like, splitting his time between multiple games. So I think the old players that were really good are like kind of half a step back. I think even Plup is less invested in going to tournaments. And then the new guys like Zane, Jmook, Cody, and Amsa, who I consider new because of his rise being very new. There's not enough consistency there yet for there to be really, really interesting narratives. There's a very, very, very common misconception. That in competition, when you have lots of different players that are able to win, that's a good thing for competition. Historically, that is the exact opposite in pretty much every sporting field that you can think of. People are attracted to dominance. Generally, people dislike it if the dominant player or team is of a play style that they don't like, right? So people enjoyed Roger Federer's dominance, did not like Novak Djokovic's dominance. Similarly, people liked Mango's dominance, did not like Hungrybox's dominance. So that is a big caveat, but people really like dominance. So they like single players or teams with interesting playstyles that are very dominant because that feels like something really special and historic and amazing that you're watching. And then the other thing that people really like is when you have a small amount of similarly dominant forces that are repeatedly going at it. So see like the Big Four era of tennis, right? That's when you had 4 very, very dominant players, right? So it wasn't just one guy or 2 guys. You had 4 very, very dominant. Like people love Federer and Nadal because that was 2 titans going at it. Then people love the Big Four era of tennis. Same thing with like, you can go through boxing history, right? Like what's better than 1 really dominant person? Like 2, right? Going at it. Basketball, Cavs Warriors was the most watched NBA since like Jordan's era for a reason, right? You're seeing LeBron, the best player in the world, go up against the best team in the world year after year. That stuff is very, very interesting to draw in casual audiences. Melee, same thing. 5 Gods era, that was the golden age of Melee, essentially, right? So generally, you need consistent levels of dominance from from like a select group of players. You don't want a shit ton of upsets. You don't want a shit ton of like new players, like some players suddenly underperforming and then random players overperforming, etc. You want consistency because that's what builds exciting storylines. That's what makes people feel like they're watching something historic and special. So I think Melee's in a bad spot because most of the top players are really inconsistent right now. There's just too much talent going around. Too much talent. Like, you can't count on Zayn to top 8. Or like, you can't count on Zayn to be in like finals or winner semis, etc. consistently at this point. You can't count on Cody to do it. You can't count on J-Mook to do it. It's just random shit all the time. And that's not healthy for the scene. I don't think it's a good thing that Mango can just show up and like get second out of the blue. I think that's a bad thing. And I'm a huge Mango fan. The Zion drama, I have no take on it. I think it's not a real drama. Isaiah Davis, thanks for the 2. Makino's baby has Figureland blood. Shanks goofed. Yeah, there's just a random Celestial Dragon baby out there in Windmill Village. One sec. Is Zoro... Okay, hold on. Not a Pro 64, thanks for the 5. Is Zoro's fight... End of story fight, Samurai Gandhi or Garling? Wait for next week's video, man. Guessing Yonko stuff is done by the end of Laftel arc, including Cross Guild. I think so. Thinking it's Garling. Wait till next week's video. Zex545, thanks for the 5. Do you think an awakened Logia can phase through hockey attacks? But then they would just win all the time. I can't think of any other reason Akainu phased through Marco's attack on Marineford. He did the same thing that Katakuri does, which is it's like identical in terms of what they're doing. We just didn't know yet that you could do that, you know? Alex Bianchi, welcome to the Yonko. Did I already say welcome to you? I forget. Welcome to the Yonko. If I didn't say welcome to you already, sorry, I'm just seeing it. I appreciate it, though. Tom, thanks for the 5. What if they have Logias and turn into animals like Karasu? Oh, that would be cool. It's just that how many... Like, to me, the only Logias I can really still think of are, like, an Earth Logia. You know, like an Earth or Rock-type Logia. And then the Wind Logia, which I think we assume Dragon has. Stuff like Suit, like Karasu has, that's cool. But it's also just a little underwhelming, you know? You know, like, I don't want a final boss of the story to have, like, a Suit or, like, an Ash Logia. Like, all the badass ones are, like, you know, what Akainu and Aokiji and Kizaru have, like, Light, Magma, shit like that. Lightning. You're saying Egghead would be Logia enemies, like Saturn and Kizaru, after we had Hokage Island, Parmesia, and Wano Zoans. I could see that. I could kind of see that. But then, like, Im looks like a, you know, like a zone too. Ismail Lamy, thank you very much. I have no idea because I don't know the currency, but I know it's a huge amount because that's the color that it stands out in. Thank you very, very much for the donation. Imu didn't seem to know that Lily was a D. I got the sense that Imu wanted confirmation that Lily was a D. I think he had a good idea that she was a D. I believe that the D is a choice, like the X that the Straw Hats did with Vivi. So it is... Oh, you think that the D tribe... You think it's like Rey saying that, like, I'm a Skywalker type thing? So it's a choice, not a bloodline. And Imu was disappointed to learn that Lily made that choice 800 years ago. That is actually a really, really, really cool idea. Because then it would explain, like, how is Jaguar D Salt, like, he's a giant, right? He wouldn't come from the same line as humans. But then it's like the D always dies smiling, so it's like... That feels more like you know, that... Unless it's just like that's the type of person that would become a D. That's an interesting idea. Like this dying smiling thing, that feels more like a inherited trait almost, right? Like that's just how you're built, you know? But then it's like, well, Odin died smiling, so is he like an honorary D? I kind of get what you're saying. That is a really, really interesting idea. I never thought about the possibility before that the D could be a choice, something that you choose to be. That is a really, really cool idea, honestly, actually. That everyone can be a D if they want to. That is actually an awesome idea. I'd never thought about that before. William Marshall, thanks for the 5. Luffy's my favorite One Piece character because he represents so many things. The sun, freedom, leadership, willpower. Yeah, I agree, like, while still being so simple. I agree, like, Luffy is a... I think Luffy, the complexities of who he is are fairly simple, but everything that he his actions represent a variety of different things, right? In a very sort of pure distilled sort of a way, which is why I think he's such a unique and powerful main character to have. Talha Najam. Talha Najam? That's different than... Okay. Did you change your name? So I think Imu was in love with Joy Boy, but Joy Boy loved Lily. Okay, you think Imu's a woman, or you think that they're gay? So Imu killed or betrayed him out of spite, but she still... Okay. But she still loves him, hence his... Okay, so you think Imu is a woman, and she still loves Joy Boy. Okay, that's an interesting... I just don't know if Oda's gonna have Luffy beat up a woman at the end of the story. It's just... It feels out of character for him. Hoops, thanks for the 5. Hey, Morj, love the Nightmare Fruit vid. I told you I'd check you out. The person who suggested it must have been super smart and hot. Alright, Oops, you got enough credit. Enough of that out of you. But thank you for the suggestion. I think out of all of the ideas mentioned in that video, people loved that idea the best. So that was a really good suggestion. At least from the comments that I could see. Aka Cow, thank you for the 5. Hi, Morj, I'm new here. Welcome. And I just want to say you're awesome. Thank you. And Pin Zoro versus Figureland, who wins? Pin Zoro. Pin Zoro wins every matchup, which is why Oda had to take him out of the story. Michael Beasley, thanks for the 5. If Garling is Shanks' dad and hates those who protect scum, how will he feel about Shanks plus his weak as fuck fleet? I mean, I think that's where the interesting contrast comes in. But that is a really, really good point that, they've just got a totally, like, the contrast in mentality is very, very sharp between the last appearance we had of Shanks versus our first appearance of Garland. Ramen Stains, thanks for the 11. Marge, my girlfriend doesn't want me to send this chat because we need to save, but I need to know what my favorite Pokemon Adventures streamer thinks of the thematic similarities between Pokemon Adventures and One Piece. I think the biggest similarity are the themes of dreams, such as catching all Pokemon versus catching the One Piece. I think those are basically the same. Freedom, because in One Piece, obviously, there's a lot of freedom stuff, and then Pokemon Adventures, it's like, well, we're free to catch a lot of Pokemon. And then willpower, because it's just like the amount of willpower that they need to continuously try and catch Pokemon after Pokemon, even though it's so boring. It's just very impressive, right? So I think those are the 3 main thematic similarities. Basim El Madawi, thanks for the 5. Part 2 of my God Valley theory. Imu destroying God Valley while Roger was there encouraged him to find One Piece. Imu was responsible for the Great Age of Pirates. My question now is, how did they destroy God Valley? Because that was the weapon they have. It seems like it's newly functional. Like, they couldn't just do this before. It was thanks to Vegapunk that they're able to do this now. So I'm really confused about how God Valley just disappeared. Unless it wasn't, like, literally physically disappeared, but like, it's just been hidden from the maps or something like that. It would be ironic if Imu is responsible for the Great Age of Pirates, for sure, though. Nick Chonko, thanks for the 5. Morj, how'd the date go? Was it better or worse than chapter 1086? Did you spend the whole time talking about One Piece? Ha ha ha. The date went well. Plan was to meet this week, but then I'm out of town. Like, meet again this week, but I'm out of town. So we'll see about next week. Joel Meza, thanks for the 2. 1K viewers, give a like. I've stopped asking for likes. I think once the stream hits a certain level of traffic, I just forget to ask for likes. Let's get it up to 600. Garp just punched it a lot. Gum Diesel, thanks for the 20. Thoughts. In Book of Revelation, God's 4 qualities are depicted by 4 creatures. Bull, eagle, lion, and man? That seems very relevant. 2 of the 5 elders are clearly a bull and a bird. 1 has a shroud, could be a man-type zone. Don't know about the other 2. That is a really interesting point. But a lion? I don't think any of them look like a lion. There's one that's got kind of like a vague look about them. Andrew Anderson, thanks for the 5. Do you think Figureland might be a way to spur Mihawk into action to have him aligned with the Strats in the final battle? Figureland? You're saying to go fight, like Mihawk would want to go fight Figureland? I don't think so personally. I personally feel like Mihawk's story, his relevance in the story might close before it's time for the Celestial Dragons battle. I think it's possible. Caleb Brown, thanks for the 2. Last Bible verse. All right. Morj 4:20. Thou rage shall fail. Oh, I wish, if only. That's funny. Titanium Dragon, thanks for the 2. Is Emu a simp for Vivi? I don't know. I feel like at that I've just like, to me it's always like in how do I say this? In any sort of context where there's like an immortal being or something like that, and then they fall in love with like a character that's like Vivi's, I think 18. Like immortal being falls in love with a teenager or something like that. I always just find that kind of questionable, you know? It's just, because seriously think about, like, no, it's fine. You find, like, who you still find attractive, you find attractive, right? Like, that's perfect. It makes perfect sense, right? But it's just like, if you've been alive for like 800 years, just, you would look at these, you would just look at them like babies, basically, right? Isn't it just, I don't know. It's just a weird thing to simp over, in my opinion, but like, you know. Vivi was literally like a child, like 2 reveries ago, that she was last in Marijua. Anyway. Derek Turner, thanks for the 5. When it's a one-on-one in a random SBS, Oda said, always bet on Pin Zoro. Yeah. Wait a sec. Am I crazy? Hold on, let me take a look. What did Pin Zoro look like? I forget what he looks like. Did we get an image? We didn't get an image, did we? Why is his name Pin Zoro? And why did they name him Zoro then? It's just like, well, my name's Pin Zoro, so let's just name him Zoro. Let's just knock off the pin. That's his name. It'd be like if I had a kid. It's like, well, my name's Morj. We'll just name him Orj. Seems natural. I'm a pirate. Thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 2 months. I never know what to ask you, so I'll just say have a nice rest of your day. Thank you very much. That's all you got to say. I appreciate it. It's good enough for me. Eric Trolato, thanks for the 2. Did you tell your date you're a single father? No, that slipped my mind. Sorry, I forgot. Completely slipped my mind. Isaac St. Charles, thank you. Why Oda give Matt stuff to the Indian Gorosei? That's actually really funny. Yeah, I'm like, this is Zoro's final opponent. And also, hold on. Who are all these guys based off of, right? Who are all these guys based off? It's like, who are the hold on. Gorosei historical inspirations. Because I swear Zoro's only going after the Indian-inspired one, right? Which would be racist yet again. Yeah, Gorbachev, white. Karl Marx. Is Karl Marx? Hold on. Karl Marx, race. Karl Marx is white. Tagi Taisuke is Japanese. Abraham Lincoln, obviously white. Yeah, so Zoro goes after Gandhi. This doesn't sit right with me. Although I think it is cool that Zoro's final opponent might be Gandhi. That's kind of cool. People are getting simp vibes from Emu. L, thanks for the 2. What powers do you think the Gorosei will have? I mean, I'm still on the train that they've got zones. I've been on the ever since we saw their true forms or whatever. I've just been like, yeah, that seems like looks like a zone. One of them, the Gandhi one that we were just talking about, he's got the clouds and everything like that. It seems Zoan-esque to me. Just seems like a Zoan to me. Zoro's son will be called Oro, continuing the tradition. Nick Chonko, thanks for the 2. YouTubers gonna do a Reverie during the 5-week break? I fucking hope not. I fucking hope that I have the Reverie group chat on mute. I've had it on mute for like a while now, just because it's like there's I don't know how do I say this? It's just usually just it's just random shit. Like, there's no need for the notifications. I don't know how to explain it. It's just usually random shit. Anytime there's been a Reverie, like the last Reverie, it was Randy's Reverie. I had the Reverie chat on mute. He messaged me personally after a while being like, hey, you good for the Reverie? I was like, oh, we're doing a Reverie. All right, let me see if that works out for me and everything. Are we doing a Reverie during a 5-week break? I fucking hope not. I fucking hope nobody volunteers. Not that it's not like a lot of interesting stuff isn't happening in the story, but it's just like, at this point, the Reverie, you gotta, like, I pay my dues for the Reverie. Like, I show up, I do my hour and a half or whatever, I head out. But there's so many people invited to the Reverie these days. No offense to any of them, but it's more so just that it becomes a very, very crowded environment. Lots, like, some topics are interesting to me, some aren't. So it's kind of like, once you're in there, you know, you speak at a room of like 20 other people to get your thoughts in on the topics that interest you. Then maybe it switches to a topic you're not interested in, so you're chilling for 10 minutes or whatever. Then it's just, I've done the Reverie so many times. I'm already friends with the people in the community that I'm friends with, basically. Like, I'm not at a place where I need to make new connections or whatever, basically, in the One Piece community. I'm good with, like, I'm just good with where I'm, like, I'm not a new person that needs to get my voice out there. I'm not trying to, like, make new connections. You guys get what I'm saying? And, like, I don't have fun, like, sitting there in the chat for, like, an hour and a half with, like, so many people trying to get their thoughts out, etc. And just finding, like, the motivation to be like, okay, I really, like, sometimes if you watch the recent Reveries, the topics that I speak on are topics that I'm actually passionate about and want to talk about. Then sometimes a topic will come up that I just don't care about, and then I'm just chilling and waiting for 10 minutes. So for me, I'm like, I don't want to do more Reveries. I hope we don't do another Reverie anytime soon. At least till some more time passes, personally. Maybe at the end of Egghead or something like that. But I'm always going to, anybody that showed up to one of my Reveries, I will show up to their Reverie, because that's just the courteous thing to do, right? Because they gave me the courtesy of taking time out of their day to help come when I was running the event. So I'm always going to show up. Like, Jay did one, I'm going to show up for that. Randy did one, I'm going to show up for that. Anyone who showed up to my Reverie, I will show up to theirs. But I don't want to, and I make it very clear that I don't want to. That's just the truth. That's the way it is. I will also add that there has been a trend recently with the Reveries, and it's partly my fault, because I think I started the trend, which was trying to make the Reveries really, really, really long. Because my Reverie was the first one that we were trying to incorporate people, that we were really making an effort to cover all time zones. So I was like, okay, we can just have it run for like 10, 11 hours. That's the solution. Prior to that, Reveries went like 5, 6 hours. Mine was the first one that was like, okay, we're going to go like 10, 11 hours straight. Since then, I think Jay's goal was to like hit that as well. Randy's goal was to hit that as well. So I'm like, fuck, I already don't want to do Reveries, and now everybody wants to do like another 10, 12 hour Reverie. This is a fucking nightmare. And it's like, we got to pack in more people every time. I'm not going to bitch about the Reverie anymore, but these are just my thoughts on it, alright? These are just my thoughts. 3D Table says Brago said there should be one. What does Brago do? No! We don't need one. You know what? There is going to be a lot of people at DreamCon, though. I personally think that we should wait for a IRL one if we do one, because that'd actually be fun. L, thanks for the 2. What powers do you think the Gorosei will have? No, we covered this. Zones. I'm on zones. The real G Rays, thanks for the 2. Zoro is robbing Samurai Gandhi for Shodai Kitetsu. To me, it'd be kind of odd if Zoro's final fight is picking up a sword, like a final sword, and then not use. We never get to see him use it in the series, you know? Surreal Soviet, thanks for the 10. In 1065, Vegapunk mentioned wanting to make a sun or undying flame. Yep. I think the Mother Flame is a prototype of this, and it's powering Uranus, which destroyed the Lucia. Giant robot had unknown power source. I'm waiting on the Viz translation to see whether it is implied that Vegapunk's creation is the weapon or if it's the flame. It's one of those two things, right? L, thanks for being a member for 3 months, and IRL Reverie would be dope. Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. Definitely would be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm still waiting to see if it's the flame or the weapon itself. I do think that, like, clearly what we learned about the Mother Flame right here connects directly back to whatever Vegapunk was talking about a while back. The Nerd Story, thanks for the 2. How Mihawk fit into end battle if he doesn't die? I don't think he fits into the end battle. I just don't think he's going to be involved in that, because I think at that point it'll be pirates. I think it'll be the Straw Hats, Revolutionaries, and Straw Hat Allies versus the World Government / Celestial Dragons. I don't think it's going to be that much more complicated than that. I mean, I think it'll be allied countries and such, but I think maybe Mihawk's defeat. I just don't know if he'd be interested at that point, you know? Fun 6000, thanks for the 2. Who you think the 5 elders will fight? That is the money question that I'm not what do you call? I'm not gonna delve too much into just yet, because that's something we can do as a stream topic, I think, during this break, because now we've got a really, really nice array of all possible matchups. We've got Gorosei to go around. Like, because we've got Luffy and the Straw Hats, but then we can list off a lot of Straw Hat allies, right? And then Revolutionaries. And then we've got the Gorosei to go around. We've got Seraphims. We've got Holy Knights. We've got Admirals. We've got a lot to work with. No, people are interpreting my Reverie statements wrong. No, that's... It's just not, it's not fun for me. I don't need to clarify anything. I don't need to, it's not fun. It's not fun for me. It's just not fun. It's a chore. I still show up to do them, right? I still show up to do them because that's the right thing to do, but I don't have to pretend I like it. Come on now. Jordan Vance says when it first started it was, what, 20 tops, now it's 40 to 50? When it first started, we'd have like 10 people in the call. Like, there was a limit, you know? We'd have 10 people in a call. Now it's like, fuck it, there's no limit to the number of people in a call. And it's just like, I don't know a lot of the people, like, I'm just like, who the fuck is this? Where did these people, who's this person, who's that person? I see a familiar face here, I just go there, I listen for things that I'm actually interested in talking about, I say my shit, I argue with people, then I'm like, okay, now this is boring, I've been here for an hour and a half, alright, peace. Remix King, thanks for the 5. Well, okay, final context is just this, which is that for anybody that's hosting the Reverie, the real thing is that you want to be able to list, hey, I'm going to have this name, this name, this name, this name, this name showing up, right? So as long as you show up and, you know, are there for some period of time, you've done your contribution, right? You've, like, you know, whoever's hosting wants to be able to say, like, hey, I had King of Lightning, I had Brago, I had O'Hara, I had all of these, like, I had Joy Boy, I had Rogers Base, I had Grand Line, had all of the big names in the Reverie. You throw them in the title, you like get that whatever that adds to the number of people that show up, etc. That's the main thing that they're looking for, you know? I feel like how long you stay doesn't matter too much. In my selfish opinion. That's my take. Tayante Black says Morj thinks they're peasants. No, it's I don't know everybody. I'm still fine talking with everybody that I don't know. It's just like, I just don't, it's like, it's just not the same. I'm not as excited about it anymore, you know? Blackleg says we need you at the Reverie to give a 10-minute lecture about tension. Who was there at the last Reverie? I was happily, like, I waited. There were topics that I had fun talking about, and they were all my talking points that I normally like talking about, which is complaining about Wano, complaining about tension, uh, complaining about that sort of shit. So that stuff, I'll always find it fun to argue with. But then if it's like something like, I don't know, like Sanji versus Zoro or something like, and that's a topic that's just going on for like 20 minutes. I'm just like, I don't want to talk about it. This isn't fun. Remix King, thanks for the 5. Morj, with the break, what stream ideas do you have planned? We can do things regarding other manga or topics, or show/tell of chat's favorite scenes. Show/tell of chat's favorite scenes. I think that I'm actually glad that you brought it up, Remix King, despite your terrible history of comments in the past. For the break week, the very first one I'm going to do is most likely going to be talking about final matchups, just because I think that's the most interesting immediate thing that comes out of this chapter. Just because we've got our full array, it feels like a final matchups, right? We've got God's Knights to work with, Gorosei, Seraphim, Marines, and Admirals are still there. Right, so we've got our full array right there. I think that that's interesting to talk about because we can speculate on, who's Sabo fighting, who's Dragon fighting, yada, 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 right? Now, beyond that, with 5 weeks, I'm thinking that I'm torn between whether we still do Monday and Thursday streams or if I just do Monday streams. I might try and do Monday and Thursday streams. I will see. But if we do that, then Thursday will definitely be hard variety. So maybe talking about something totally different, a manga, a separate manga, maybe even me streaming a game again like Sekiro, but not Sekiro. And then Monday will probably be more One Piece related topics. If I'm only doing Monday streams, then I'll probably mix, like, maybe One Piece, but maybe 1 week here, try a variety topic or something like that. I'll see. Pin Morj, thanks for the 2. Why don't you visit me in the nursing home? Get out of here, Pin Morj. Your profile pic scares me. Will of Davy, thanks for the 5. The Jupiter Gorosei being called Lincoln doesn't make sense to me because of one of the 50 kings being Hamburger, tall guy with facial hair equals Lincoln. Wait a second. Yeah, I guess he's just supposed to be like Lincoln, though. I guess Oda has 2 Abraham Lincolns in his story? I don't know. I don't know. I think Oda just likes his Abraham Lincolns. I'm looking at them and it is... One is clearly Abraham Lincoln, and the Gorosei guy is, like, technically Abraham Lincoln. Mahavid Sadegi, thanks for the 10. Naruto/Bleach. Imu is not the final villain. He died and his body used by Saint Pinzoro Norjero for Jarlan Torjihote first to def him after we hit him with One Piece to avoid Almighty. That 1 second be at least 2 1 second to defeat him after we hit him with the One Piece to avoid Almighty. Okay, so now we're getting to Bleach territory. That 1 second is at least 2 hours in anime. That is a very interesting theory. In all seriousness, I am interested to see if they switch up the final fight against Ewok in the Ewok. How do we? Fucking stupid name for a lame ass final villain. Aizen's such a better villain than Ewok. Ewok is so fucking lame, it's crazy. His ability is badass though. But anyway, hopefully the final fight is better done in the anime. Hopefully they have a different spin on it. L, thanks for the 2. Have you or would you read Oyasumi Pun Pun? I've heard it's really sad. Maybe I'll read it. I know some people. I know like JD really likes it. Talha, thanks for the 279. Holy Knights and Gorosei strong. My Mihawk Zoro post age well. Yeah, you will like next week's video. Next Tuesday's video. Nick Chonko, thanks for the 2. If Crocomom ends up true, is S Croc Luffy's aunt? I guess so. If we're playing that make-believe game, yeah, sure. L, thanks for the 2. The Reverie shall fail. Morj, maybe. All right, guys. We're gonna call the stream in 10 minutes. In 10 minutes. Nick says anyone who protects scum is lower than the scum they protect. Morj. Doran Russ Trivia says fans want you, Morj. Oda wants you at the Reverie. That'd be nice. I mean, I always show up. I always show up. Soga King saying Morj is saying all that because he doesn't want to join Grand Line Review at the Reverie. Grand Line skips the Reveries. I always show up to the Reveries. I don't think he's been at a Reverie in God knows how long. The Wheel of Dreams says Morj doesn't think stamina is important. It's just the size that counts. Morj needs to go split his Luffy egg theory. I'm never saying that in front of other YouTubers. I'll never talk about that. Morj doesn't want to Reverie because he'll get cloud for the egg theory. I'm not talking about the... God damn it. No, for real. My favorite part about the Reverie is, like, arguing. I like arguing. But I only like arguing about topics that, like, are fun for me to argue about. Does that make sense? So, if it's random stuff like... Again, like, if we get into, like, Sanji or Zoro or, like... Like, there's just so many topics that we get into that have already been talked about that I just don't find fun to talk about anymore. Or I don't feel passionate about anymore. You know, that, or there's just too many, you know, it's just like, it's hard to force being passionate and arguing. So I'm always down to argue with other, if you watch me in the latest Reveries, it's usually me just arguing a lot with other people, and then if I'm not arguing, then I'm bored. And that's basically it. Caleb Brown says, Brago is clowning your egg theory, Morj. Did Brago even watch it? Awaken Garo, thanks for the 5. Looking forward to rewatching this at work tomorrow. Huge basketball fan. Sorry for off topic. Fairly new to stream. Favorite team and player, not GOAT. My favorite team. I mean, I'm a LeBron fan over anything else, so I'll be a fan of whatever team he's on. That's the unfortunate truth. So, I'm really like this is bandwagon. Well, no, I've been a Jokic fan, and I guess by extent, I haven't really been a Nuggets fan, but I've been a Jokic fan for some time now because I liked him as like a player that was like randomly getting good years ago. If you guys remember, like his series with the Blazers and stuff like that. But I really became a big Jokic fan after they took out the Clippers in the bubble because I fucking hated how much hype the Kawhi Clippers were getting, and I was like, but I won't lie, like I'll be 100% honest. I believed that the Lakers would beat those Clippers. I believed that they would beat those Clippers, but at the same time, it's like, it's sports. You never know. And Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are really good players, and that Clippers team was stacked. So it was just like, man, if the Lakers beat the Clippers will win the title. That's what I was thinking. I was like, all right, so this is what it's going to come down to. Let's see what happens. So imagine my joy when I was just like, wait, we don't even need to to wait for the Lakers to play the Clippers. The Clippers aren't even going to make it there. This hero, Jokic, is just picking them apart. Like, Jokic picked apart those Clippers like it was fucking easy. It was wild to watch. Just them implode. They had no answers. So ever since then, I've been a really big Jokic fan, and I've thought it was a shame that he was just, like, in my mind after that series, I was like, I really thought that this guy was like a top 5 player in the NBA, because I was like, he's clearly better than Kawhi Leonard at this point to me. He's clearly better than Luka Doncic. I never had him as the best player in the NBA. I'm surprised to see that he's definitively the best player at this point. But I thought that he was being very unfairly maligned for the last 2 years because he didn't have Murray and Michael Porter Jr. And I'm like, dude, like the last time this guy had a healthy team, he went to the Western Conference Finals. He's I don't know, way better than, like, I always thought he was better than Embiid. Ray Uchiha, thanks for the 5. If you want to know how to say Ewok, watch the new anime. Yamamoto says it like 37 times in one episode. Is it Ewok? Is that how it's pronounced? Like Ewoks? Luis Gomez, hey Morj, did Pin Zoro have the will of V? No, he didn't need it. He was pure Pin. He's pure Pin Zoro. Damone Nickerson, thank you for being a Yonka tier member for 8 months. You should edit a compilation of you Reverie arguments. That'd be funny. That'd be funny. I've been in. If you track my evolution, if you go back to like the first Reverie I joined, which was like the Joy Boy Reverie, there I was like, like I was bright-eyed and new, and I didn't like it's the first time talking to most people, and like it was I was definitely less certain of my. I was like, okay, I'm putting my ideas out there. I'm confident in my ideas, but I also don't want to be rude to people. I don't want to speak over people too much if I can avoid it, etc. And then I think like maybe one Reverie down, I think it was the Red Force podcast Reverie. That was a smaller one. I felt more comfortable just talking. I knew the people a little bit better. And then, you felt that at some point I hosted, and I felt by that point I knew most people, so I was just very comfortable hosting. And then, at this point with like the last couple Reveries, like JD Legends Reverie, Randy's Reverie, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'll just talk over whoever. I'll say whatever as soon as I don't really care how controversial the view is or whatever. I don't think anything of just putting it out there, as long as I feel like I've got good reasoning for it. And then I don't know, whatever comes after that comes. But I don't know, Reveries, I think like back then it was fun for me for the novelty. Now it's fun for the argumentativeness and like how heated I can be during it. Or like, not heated, I think that's the wrong word, but like, just how much you can, you can like, because like I can talk to you guys, but we're not really arguing because I'm the only one that gets to talk, right? But in the Reverie, you actually get to like argue with people about One Piece opinions, really back and forth and stuff. So I like, before I was just happy to be there and like getting to know people and sharing my ideas on a different platform or stage. Now it's just like, okay, like we get to argue about some stuff, get some of your shit off. But that's only fun for so long. Then after a bit, I'm like, okay, now this is boring topics. Joe, thanks for the 5. What if Roxy Xebec is confirmed a swordsman? The Zoro agenda will be unstoppable. Roxy Xebec is confirmed a swordsman. I mean, but like Roger's a swordsman, and we don't like talk that much about that. Nick Jonko, thanks for the 5. You like football? Thursday streams can be about how the Browns are gonna go all the way this year. No, I'm not a big football person. All right, guys. We are going to wrap the stream right about here. Let me make sure that there's no other supers that I'm missing. Let's see. Nope. Okay, I don't think I've missed anything. Alright, I think I'm good. Yeah, I think I can wrap stream pretty much here. Alright, guys. Thanks for tuning in. This was a really fun stream, fitting a really, really fun chapter. This was a great chapter to leave us on a break for, so I guess, yeah, just watch out for videos for the, for the rest of, this 5-week break that we got coming up. But, yeah. And as for streams, I think we are going to do Monday streams, obviously stay. We might still do Thursday streams. We'll see. We might still do Thursday streams. Maybe some weeks we'll do a Thursday stream. I'll probably give you guys a heads up beforehand. But all right, guys. I'll talk to you all later. And, yeah, thanks for tuning in.